Why? My family disowned me after I was falsely accused of pedophilia by my cheating wife. Why? But now the truth is out and they won't stop begging me to forgive them. I, Lincoln, 36 years old. Why? Used to believe I had cracked the code for American normalcy. 7 years married to Chelsea. Bought a craftsman in Round Rock. Why? Held down a respectable architect job. Everyone who knew us, from my meticulous parents to her chaotic friends, insisted we were solid. Why? For 7 years, I had zero reason to believe otherwise. The first crack in my perfect life was a face, down phone on a sterile granite counter. Why? But the explosion happened 4 months later. The changes in Chelsea had been subtle at first, then aggressively undeniable. Why? The excessive showering the second she walked in from her medical device sales job, as if she were scrubbing away a foreign residue. Why? The phone was always face down, like it was radioactive, its screen a forbidden continent I was not allowed to explore. If I asked about her day, why? She would snap, defensively guarding a non-existent secret. I am an analytical man. My internal conflict told me to investigate. Why? But my emotional guarding made me avoid confrontation. I convinced myself it was work pressure, quota stress. I gave her space. Why? Retreating into my own quiet routines. Then Thanksgiving arrived. It was always a production at my parents' house. My brother Nathan? Why? Bless his straightforward heart, was there with his girlfriend. My sister Holly, the golden child. Why? Was present with her husband and their 2 children. The house smelled of roasting turkey, cinnamon. Why? And my mother's excessive Martha Stewart determination. I was nursing a drink, trying to tune out my uncle's rant about property taxes. Why? When I finally noticed Chelsea. She was glued to her phone in the corner, not subtly texting, but staring at the screen with an agitated, why? Almost panicked look. At 7:30, she set the phone down and stared blankly into the middle distance. Her expression was completely unreadable. Why? The tears had not started yet, but the mask was falling. My mother noticed first. She walked over, voice sweet and drenched in concerned sympathy. Why? And put a hand on Chelsea's shoulder. Sweetie, are you okay? Chelsea shook her head, unable to speak, and her eyes instantly started to water. Why? Across the room. I was talking to Nathan about his new truck. But I felt the shift in the room's atmosphere. My father muted the football game. Why? The low hum of conversation started dying. My mother was sitting beside Chelsea now, holding her while Chelsea silently cried into her hands. Why? My dad walked over with the grave, serious, dad expression that meant something fundamental had broken. Then Chelsea looked up. Why? Her eyes found mine across the room. Something in her face, not sorrow, but a desperate, why? Calculating fear. Made my stomach drop straight through the floor. She stood slowly. My mother stood with her. My father positioned himself nearby. Why? A silent, authoritative presence. The room went dead silent. I need to say something? Chelsea's voice was quiet. Why? But it was amplified by the sudden silence. She paused, letting the entire room hang on her shaky breath, drawing out the suspense. Why? I can't stay silent anymore. Not when children could be in danger. My brain seized, scrambling for context. What in the world was happening?
Why? Chelsea!
I started, taking a step forward. No. She cut me off, her voice suddenly strong and sharp. Why? I've been talking to you privately for months, making excuses for what I was seeing. I've kept quiet about the late nights on your computer. Why? The passwords you kept changing, the locked folders I wasn't allowed to ask about. What was she talking about? Why? Every night I had worked late was work. The locked folders were architectural plans. I told myself it was work stuff. Why? That I was being paranoid. She laughed, a broken, hysterical sound. Why? My mother's face twisted into an expression of dawning horror I had never seen before. Holly was staring at me, her mouth slightly open.
Why?
Already processing the worst. Her 2 kids stood behind her, confused by the sudden attention. But I found messages on his laptop. Why? Messages with young girls, with minors. Her voice cracked hard on the last 2 words. The room exploded. Actual gasps. In law. Why? Holly immediately yanked her 2 children behind her, shielding them with her body, as if I were a source of immediate, toxic radiation. Why? I haven't done anything. My voice was loud now, defensive, desperate. Liar, Holly shouted. All those nights working from home.
Why?
All those times on your laptop with the door locked, you weren't working. Holly was crying, pulling her children further away. Why? My mother had gone pale, but her jaw was set in rigid shock. I stayed quiet because I didn't want to believe it. Chelsea whispered. Why? Her voice fracturing. But I can't protect you anymore. Not when kids might be at risk. I already made the report. Then my father spoke. Why? His voice was cold, flat, devoid of all paternal warmth. Get out of my house. I thought he was talking to Chelsea. Dad. Why? Get out. He was not looking at me. He was looking through me. Why? I don't have a son who does that to children. You're not listening? I'm done listening to you. His voice rose for the first time. Why? Holly's kids were just in this house around you. He couldn't even finish the sentence. Get out now. Holly was sobbing openly. Why? Oh my God. They were around him all day. My dad stepped toward me, not threateningly, just finally. Why? You have 60 seconds to leave before I physically remove you. I grabbed my keys, my hand shaking so badly the metal jangled. Why? And walked toward the door. My father followed close behind, ensuring I left. Don't come back, he said as I stepped onto the porch. Why? Don't call. Don't text. You're not welcome here anymore. He shut the door in my face. The sound was the loudest. Why? Most final punctuation mark I had ever heard. I stood there on the porch in the cold November air, disowned, exiled, why? And falsely branded with the worst possible label. Inside, why? I could hear the hysterical pitch of Chelsea's sobbing, and the shaky determination of my mother's voice. Why? I had been judged and condemned without trial. I drove home, my control completely shattered. Why? The cold November air on the porch was the end of one life. The call to Elias Vance the next morning was the precise blueprint for the next. Why? I drove home in a fog of pure, physical shock. My hands were shaking so bad I nearly ended someone at a red light in Round Rock. Why? The betrayal was an immediate, blinding pain, but the exile was a slow, creeping numbness. I finally reached the house, our house, and it felt wrong. Why? Empty. The silence was not peaceful, it was accusatory. Every corner, every perfectly hung picture. Why? Felt like a scene in a museum of a life that had just exploded. I realized that my emotional guarding, my careful distance, had been a liability. Why? Because my family never saw the raw me. They only saw the stoic architect. Why? The man who compartmentalized everything. They believed the lie instantly. They saw a monster. Why? And my quiet reserve offered absolutely no defense against that immediate, brutal judgment. I did not sleep that night. I sat in the living room. Why? Analyzing the situation with the precision I usually reserved for structural load calculations. I had zero evidence of innocence other than my word, why? Which had proved worthless against the power of the accusation. I needed a strategy. I needed control. The first thing the next morning, lie, I called the best criminal defense attorney I could find, Elias Vance. Elias was late 50s, with a suit that looked expensive but rumpled. Why? And the tired, pragmatic eyes of a man who had seen too much. He listened to my story. The marriage, the red flags, the Thanksgiving scene. Why? The immediate dissownment, the specific, terrible accusation. Without interrupting. When I finished, the silence was heavy. Why? But Elias broke it with a clinical certainty that immediately calmed the tremor in my hands. Hair is what we do, Lincoln. Why? You retain me immediately. We bring every single one of your devices, your laptop, your phone, your tablet, directly to the police. Why? This is not the move of a guilty man. This is the move of an innocent man demanding to prove it. He continued, his tone dry. Why? It shows you have nothing to hide, and it forces the police to follow due process. If you are innocent, forensics will prove it. If she is lying, why? We destroy her. If she has fabricated evidence, we find the digital fingerprints of that fabrication. I stood up. Done. Retainer sent. When do we go? This afternoon, he said. No time to breathe. We want to be the ones walking in the door. Why? Not being dragged in. That afternoon, Elias and I drove to the Cedar Park Police Department. Walking in felt like passing a point of no return. Law. Why? We asked to speak to someone about a false accusation. We were led to an interview room where we met Detective Ramos. Why? A man in his late 40s whose expression suggested nothing in human nature could surprise him anymore. I retold the story. Why? Focusing on the sheer, theatrical nature of the public accusation and my father's immediate, devastating decree of exile. Why? And you're saying you didn't do any of this? Ramos asked, his voice neutral. I'm saying I didn't. Why? And I'll prove it. I countered, feeling a strange, hard clarity replacing the numbness. I want to hand over my laptop, my phone, my tablet. Why? My passwords. Full written consent for digital forensics. I want you to look at everything. Ramos studied me for a long moment. Why? Most people don't volunteer that. But if she has screenshots, like she claims, this is serious. Elias leaned forward. Why? His voice professional steel. My client is cooperating fully, because we believe forensic examination will exonerate him completely. Why? He has nothing to hide. Ramos nodded slowly. All right. Digital forensics takes time. Our lab's backed up pretty bad right now. Why? Could be months before we get results back. I understood. I handed over everything, my work laptop, my personal phone, my tablet. Why? I signed every consent form, giving them passwords to my email, cloud storage, social media, everything. I had nothing to protect. As we were leaving, why? Elias stopped the detective. My client's wife claimed she found evidence on his devices and filed a report. If he's clean, and nothing is there, why? That means she either made it up or fabricated the evidence. Why? I trust your department will investigate that angle thoroughly. Ramos's noncommittal nod was all the promise we got, but I left feeling lighter. Why? Not happy, not relieved, but cleaner. I had taken the first step toward control. I returned home to find the house even emptier. Why? Chelsea had been there while I was at the police station. Half her clothes were gone. Her toiletries were missing. She had texted me multiple times. Why? One text read, "We need to talk about the house. I can't live there knowing what you've done." Another, "I'm staying with Holly." Why? She's the only one who believes me. Everyone will see the truth eventually. I'm filing for divorce. You'll hear from my attorney. Why? I hope the police lock you up. The messages held no power over me now. I texted back the cold, hard fact. Why? Gave police full access to all my devices today voluntarily. I have nothing to hide. When forensics comes back clean, we'll see who the liar is. Why? 3 hours later, she responded. You must have deleted everything. That doesn't prove anything. I felt a surge of cold fury. Why? Forensics can recover deleted files. They'll find nothing because there's nothing to find. We'll see, was her final, defiant text. The next day. Why? Elias set me up with a divorce attorney. I brought the prenup Chelsea had fought so hard against years ago, claiming it meant I didn't trust her. Why? That document was about to save me. My divorce attorney, after reviewing the Thanksgiving betrayal, the texts, why, and my voluntary cooperation with the police, said, if you're innocent, Lincoln, this is a slam dunk. False accusation, defamation. Why? And the prenup means she walks with basically nothing. We filed the papers that afternoon. Simple. Irreconcilable differences, false accusations. Why? Asset division per the prenuptial agreement. I kept the house, the cars, the savings. Why? Chelsea got her personal belongings and her retirement account with about $9,000 in it. My strategic counter-attack had begun. Why? While my legal defense began, the true nature of the conspiracy was still buried, waiting for a bored husband to check a shared laptop. Why? 3 days after Thanksgiving, the shock was starting to wear off, replaced by a hollow, gnawing anger. I was in limbo. Why? Waiting for the police forensics team, but my analytical mind refused to wait. Why? I could not stop thinking about Chelsea's bizarre behavior over the last 4 months. The defensiveness, the showers. Why? The radioactive phone. It wasn't just work stress, and it wasn't just the pedophile accusation. Why? Something fundamental had been hidden long before Thanksgiving. I still had the shared laptop. Why? The one we both used for basic things like streaming and bills. Chelsea had taken her work laptop when she left. Why? But this one sat on the spare room desk, mocking me with its normalcy. I opened it up. She hadn't logged out of her personal email. Why? What I found was not a surprise, but the depth of it was a profound, cold wound. Why? It took me about 10 minutes of scrolling through the digital debris to find them. Emails from someone named J. Why? Using a generic Gmail address I didn't recognize. The first messages, dated 6 months ago, were innocent enough. Hey, been thinking about you. Why? How have you been? Then they became flirtier, more frequent. By August, they were discussing meetups and sharing explicit, why? Sickeningly intimate details. She was cheating on me. She had been cheating on me for 6 months. Why? Even while planning our future and watching movies on that same sofa. I continued scrolling, my hands trembling not from fear. Why, but from a calculated rage. The emotional arc of the emails shifted in October. They became less about passion and more about strategy. Why? The messages read like a business plan for destruction. One message, from Jay to Chelsea, stood out. Why? You're going to walk away with nothing because of that prenup. That's not fair. You gave him 7 years. Then came the blueprint. Why? You need leverage. Something that makes him look bad enough that a judge won't care about the prenup. Then public accusations work. Why? Especially around family. They'll take your side immediately. I froze. They had planned it. The theatrics, the public stage. Why? The immediate rush to judgment. All of it was calculated. The realization was both terrifying and exquisitely satisfying. Why? It transformed my shock into a methodical certainty. I was innocent, and she was a conspirator. I screenshot everything, every message. Why? Going back 6 months. I did not want one word lost to chance. Finally, I focused on the sender's email address. I ran a reverse search. Why? and the address linked to a Facebook profile Jared. Her deadbeat ex from years ago. I'd met him once. Unemployed, sketchy vibe. Why? Always full of excuses for why his life was a disaster. She had been cheating on me with him for 6 months, and he had been coaching her. Why? Meticulously outlining the path to destroy me and steal our assets. Why? I forwarded the entire dossier of screenshots to Elias Vance with a concise message. Why? Chelsea's been having an affair with her ex-boyfriend Jared for 6 months. Why? Found emails where he's coaching her to make public accusations for divorce leverage. Check attachments. Elias called me within an hour. His voice, why, usually dry, was laced with real excitement. Lincoln, this is huge. This shows premeditation. Why? This shows the false accusation was planned to bypass the prenup. The cheating alone gives us ammunition, but the planning. Why? That's potential criminal conspiracy. I'm forwarding this to Detective Ramos immediately. 2 days later, my phone rang from an unknown number.
Why?
Is this Chelsea's husband? A woman's voice, professional and controlled, asked. Why? Who's asking? I'm with the Austin Police Department. I need to ask you about Jared. My stomach dropped, cold and fast. Why? What about him? How well do you know him? Barely. He's my wife's ex from years ago. Why? I just found out she's been having an affair with him for the last 6 months. The woman paused for a long moment. Mr. Lincoln, why? We have been investigating Jared for 4 months. Online exploitation of minors. Why? And your wife has been in regular contact with him. Everything went cold. Jesus Christ. The room seemed to tilt on its axis. Why? My initial confusion about the accusation finally dissolved into a horrifying clarity. I need to know what you found. I managed. Why? My voice strained. I told the detective everything: the emails, the affair, the planning messages about the prenup and needing leverage. Why? The coaching on how to make the public accusation. I need copies of everything you found, she stated firmly. Why? We executed a search warrant on his devices this morning based on our own investigation. Now, in law, why? I need to know what your wife knew about his activities, and when she knew it. You think she knew what he was doing? That's what I'm trying to determine. Why? But the timing is suspicious. She's been in contact with a suspected predator for months. Why? Then suddenly accuses you of being one. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. She was sleeping with a real predator. Why? Yet she used the predator's crime as a weapon against me. I realized that my own vengeance, my own need for control, why, would be magnified 100-fold by the objective facts of their monstrous conspiracy. The tide had truly turned. Lie. The plot twist I knew was coming landed with the force of a hammer. The Austin police did not just know Jared. They were hunting him. Why? The detective confirmed they had been building a case against him since summer. Multiple complaints from parents. Evidence of grooming behavior. Why? They had been trying to build a case that was airtight. And now my false accusation case, fueled by Jared's calculated advice, why, had handed them the final piece of the puzzle. When we forensically analyzed his devices, why, we found extensive communications with your wife, the Austin detective told me. Way more than just the emails you found. Text messages, phone calls, why? And some of the content is concerning. Concerning how? I asked. The air in my office felt suddenly thick, hard to breathe. Why? I can't share details of an active investigation, Mr. Lincoln. But we're bringing your wife in for questioning. Why? And we're going to need access to her devices. She's been in contact with a suspected predator for months, and then she accuses you of being one. Why? That's a critical angle for us. I sat in stunned silence after the call, processing the sheer, horrifying irony. Why? Chelsea had been cheating on me with a man under investigation for the very crime she weaponized against me at the Thanksgiving table. My exile. Why? My total destruction was engineered by two people, a cheating wife and an actual predator. I spent 3 agonizing months in limbo. Why? 3 months of waiting for the forensic lab results, 3 months of avoiding colleagues at work who had clearly heard rumors. Why? 3 months of watching friends and family ghost me. My cousin, who I had been tight with since we were kids, just stopped responding to texts. Why? The silence from my parents was a crushing daily weight. They had made their choice. They believed the worst lie imaginable over their own son. Why? This period of waiting reinforced my decision to be ruthless. The family I had been trying to protect was a phantom, replaced by a cold, why, judgmental tribunal. Then 12 weeks after Thanksgiving, the phone rang. It was Detective Ramos from Cedar Park PD. Why? Your forensics came back clean, Lincoln. I literally had to sit down. My legs suddenly refused to hold me up. I felt an immediate, why, overwhelming wave of relief, followed instantly by the stark realization that this was not the end, but a hard reset. No illegal content. Why? No suspicious communications. No deleted files indicating guilt. No evidence supporting the allegations. Ramos continued in his flat cop demeanor. Why? You're clear. The investigation is closed on our end. Thank you. I managed to say, the word feeling too small for the weight that had just lifted. Why? Don't thank me yet, he warned. I talked to Austin PD. They executed a search warrant on Jared's apartment this morning. Why? They found illegal material. A lot of it. Images, videos, chat logs. Why? He's being arrested as we speak. What about Chelsea? They're bringing her in for questioning. In law. Why? Based on what they found on his devices and your phone records, she and Jared were in frequent contact leading up to your Thanksgiving incident. Why? We need to know what she knew and when. Ramos then revealed the devastating final blow to Chelsea's credibility. Why? Austin PD found messages between them. Messages about you. What kind of messages? My hands clenched into fists, ready for the worst. Why? The kind that constitute criminal conspiracy, he stated plainly. Messages discussing your prenup and how she could get around it. Why? Messages about making you look dangerous so she'd have leverage in divorce court. Messages where he's coaching her on exactly what to say, why, when to say it, how to make the accusation for maximum impact. She framed you on his advice. The vindication was absolute. It wasn't a mistake. Why? It was a planned attack, a deliberate campaign to financially destroy me using the most toxic weapon available. Why? Ramos concluded by saying he would send copies of the relevant messages to Elias Vance. This will tank her credibility in family court, he promised. Why? I hung up the phone and immediately forwarded the news and the documents to Elias. Then, feeling a deep, controlled satisfaction, why? I sent a group text to Nathan. He was the only one who deserved the truth directly. Forensics came back clean on all my devices. Why? No evidence of any illegal activity. Austin PD arrested Jared for actual exploitation of minors. Why? They found messages showing Chelsea conspired with him to make false accusations against me. Why? She knew I was innocent and did it anyway to win in divorce court. I've attached the police reports and relevant documentation. Why? Nathan called within minutes. His voice was raw with shock. Holy crap, Lincoln. Yeah. Have you told Mom and Dad? He asked. Why? His voice laced with hope. Why would I replied, the cold resolve hardening my tone. They made their choice. Why? They kicked me out based on an accusation. They can find out when everyone else does. I don't owe them anything. My criminal nightmare was over. Why? But my campaign for civil and emotional justice was just beginning. With my name clean, the courts became my operating theater. Why? And the knife was surgically precise. Chelsea was arrested 8 weeks after Jared's initial bust. Why? The district attorney had to review the overwhelming evidence, present it to a grand jury, and secure the indictment. Why? She was charged with filing a false police report, criminal conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. Why? Bail was set high enough that she couldn't make it instantly. Why? She stayed in county for 5 miserable days before her parents scraped together the money. Why? Using funds I would later realize they should have used to apologize to me. Jared, the actual predator, was denied bail entirely. Why? Discovery in both the criminal and the divorce cases was brutal for Chelsea. Every single text message exchanged with Jared was brought to light. Why? Every planning session where he coached her on how to weaponize the accusation. The messages weren't some evil screenplay. They were crass instructions. They detailed the financial motive. You need to make people scared of him. Why? Say you saw something messed up on his computer. Don't get specific. Just say kids and unsafe and they'll fill in the blanks. Public is better. Why? More witnesses. Family gathering is perfect. Chelsea had been obsessed with the prenup for years. Why? Feeling she had wasted 7 years of her life and would walk away empty-handed. Why? Jared simply gave her permission and a plan to do what she'd already been contemplating. Why? My attorney used those messages to absolutely destroy her in divorce court. Why? The family court judge looked visibly disgusted reading through the evidence, pausing several times to adjust his glasses and shake his head. Mems. Why? Harris. The judge stated, his voice ringing with authority. In law. Why? You conspired with a convicted predator to make false accusations of the most serious nature. Why? You weaponized child safety for financial leverage in this court. Why? That is an unforgivable moral and legal transgression. Chelsea's attorney tried a desperate victim angle. Your Honor.
Why?
My client was manipulated by Mr. Jared. Your client is a co-conspirator. The judge countered flatly. Why? The messages show clear intent and planning. The judge enforced the prenup exactly as written, word for word. Why? Chelsea got her personal belongings and her retirement account, nothing else. No house, no support, no shared assets. I sat there. Why? Watching her collapse in silent tears while the judge read the final orders. I felt nothing, only a profound, cold sense of duty fulfilled. Why? It was justice, precise and emotionless. The destruction of Chelsea, however, was only the first act of my calculated revenge. Why? During the discovery phase of Chelsea's criminal case, another set of texts surfaced that were far more personal and painful. Why? Messages exchanged between Chelsea and my sister, Holly, in the week surrounding Thanksgiving. Why? I had always assumed Holly's panic and horror were genuine. After all, she had rushed to protect her children. Why? But the texts revealed something darker. Months earlier, Holly had asked me for a significant loan for her husband's failing business. Why? And I had politely but firmly refused. Now, her text to Chelsea from that week showed a calculated, different motivation. Law. Why? Holly had been encouraging Chelsea, saying she needed to do whatever it takes to get what you deserve in the divorce. Another message. Why? Sent hours before the dinner, stated public accusations are your nuclear option, and family gatherings create maximum pressure. Why? Holly wasn't simply being a supportive friend or a panicked mother. She was encouraging the destruction of my reputation. Why? actively pushing Chelsea to go nuclear, to ensure a massive settlement, presumably hoping to get a cut herself later. She had helped set me up. Why? Maybe she hadn't known the specific accusation would be pedophilia, but she had encouraged the public explosion of my life. Why? Elias Vance handed me the texts with a grim smile. Your sister exposed herself to serious civil liability here, Lincoln. Why? She participated in a conspiracy to defame you. She knowingly encouraged malicious action for financial gain. Can we go after her? I ask. Why? The betrayal from my parents was one thing. Holly's was an active, insidious participation in my ruin. Absolutely. Elias confirmed. Why? The texts are damning. We can file a separate civil suit. Do it. I stated, the decision immediate and firm. Why? We filed a civil suit against Holly for civil conspiracy, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and tortious interference. Why? We attached the text messages as exhibits. Holly had chosen the money and the drama of her friend over the integrity of her brother. Now, why? She would pay the price. The legal system was the only family I needed now, and it was finally working for me. Why? Winning the judgment against Holly was a victory, but watching the consequences ripen over too long, quiet years was the real reward. Holly's husband called me 2 days after she was served the civil suit papers. What the heck are you doing, Lincoln?
Why? She's your sister.
His voice was a blend of shock and accusation. Why? She helped my wife destroy my reputation with false pedophile accusations. I replied, my tone flat. Why? She was just being supportive to Chelsea. The texts say otherwise. Why? She told Chelsea to go nuclear and use family gatherings for maximum impact. She knew exactly what she was encouraging. Why? She chose money over me. This is insane. Why? You're suing your own sister. She stopped being my sister when she helped frame me as a pedophile. I hung up. Why? I allowed myself no softening, no reconsideration. My goal was not reconciliation, it was consequences. Holly tried texting me. Why? The tone shifting rapidly from desperate apology to angry denial. I replied once. Why? You participated in a conspiracy to destroy my life with false pedophile accusations. Why? You interrogated your own children about whether I'd molested them. There is no making it right. There's only consequences. Why? The civil trial against Holly was short, brutal, and humiliating for her. Why? Every text where she told Chelsea to destroy me and go nuclear ended up in front of the jury. Why? Her attorney tried to argue she was just a supportive friend, who didn't know the accusation would be so specific. Why? Elias Vance destroyed that argument in his closing statement. He played the text where Holly said, why? Accuse him publicly in family gatherings, create witnesses. These aren't the words of a supportive friend. Elias told the jury, why? These are the words of a conspirator. The jury deliberated for 7 hours. They came back with a verdict in my favor. Why? Awarding me $95,000 in damages for emotional distress, reputational harm, and legal fees. Holly didn't have that kind of money. Why? 3 weeks after the verdict, her husband filed for divorce. The court, citing Holly's actions in the conspiracy and the verdict itself. Why? Found her judgment to be severely impaired, and he was granted primary custody. The final? Why? Crushing consequence was the forced sale of their house to pay part of the judgment. Holly moved into a small apartment in Georgetown. Why? Seeing her kids only every other weekend, and for the first 6 months, only with a supervisor present. Why? Chelsea's life followed a similar downward trajectory. Her criminal no contest plea led to probation and restitution. Why? But the record made finding professional work impossible. She took a job at a call center, making $14 an hour. Why? Barely affording a cramped studio apartment. Holly fared little better, working retail for $12 an hour. The consequences ripened. Why? And I finally achieved a solitude free from crisis. Then, 2 years after everything went down, my doorbell rang on a Saturday morning. Why? I was making coffee, enjoying the kind of quiet Saturday that only exists when your life is not actively on fire. Why? I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. Chelsea and Holly were standing on my porch, together. Both looked terrible. I opened the door. Why? But did not step aside. I did not invite them into my protected space. What do you want? Chelsea looked worse than I had ever seen her. Why? Hair unwashed, clothes looking 3 days old, eyes hollow and perpetually on the verge of tears. Holly looked pinched, puffy, faced from crying. Why? Dressed in cheap department store clothes. Chelsea spoke first, her voice a shaky whisper. I know you don't want to see us, Lincoln. Why? But we're completely out of options. Not my problem, I stated, my voice flat. Holly jumped in, desperate. Please. Why? Just hear us out. You've got 3 minutes. Talk. Can we come inside? Chelsea asked, glancing nervously at the neighbor's house. No. Talk from there or leave. Chelsea swallowed hard, forcing herself to speak. I lost my job. Got fired 3 weeks ago. Why? Someone sent them my court records. My landlord's evicting me. I'm about to be homeless.
Okay.
Okay. That's all you're going to say? She asked, her face crumpling further. What do you want me to say? Why? You made choices that led to consequences. I know, but I'm begging for help. Just enough to get back on my feet. Holly spoke up. Why? Equally desperate. I'm in the same boat. Lost my house paying your judgment. My ex got custody. I see my kids twice a month. Working retail. Why? Making $12 an hour, 3 weeks from being evicted. We need loans to get back on our feet. Why? To survive. After you conspired to frame me as a pedophile. I said slowly, letting the cold fury infuse my voice. Lie. After you destroyed my reputation. After all that, you want me to give you money. It's a loan, Chelsea said, voice desperate. Why? We'll pay you back with interest. Whatever terms you want. I studied both of them, 2 shattered people on my doorstep. Why? My mind was already calculating the final move in this game. I needed to see how far they would fall before they hit the ground. Why? The answer was simple as far as I pushed them. I studied Chelsea and Holly. Why? 2 shattered people offering everything for a way out of their consequences. How much? I asked. Why? Allowing a flicker of hope to enter their desperate eyes. They looked at each other, surprised by my question. They had expected an immediate, why, definitive refusal. 20,000 would let me get stable, Chelsea said quickly. I need 15, Holly added. So, why? 35,000 total. I nodded slowly, deliberately. And you'll pay me back with interest? Yes, Chelsea said desperately. Why? Tears now freely tracking paths down her dirty face. 10% interest, 5-year repayment plan, everything in writing. Why? Whatever terms you want. Holly was nodding frantically beside her. They were hanging on my every word, utterly reliant on my cold calculation. Why? I let them sit in that fragile hope for several seconds, their eyes clinging to mine. Then, the silence absolute, I laid down the condition, why? The final, humiliating price. No, I said, then corrected myself, drawing out the denial. I'm not loaning you anything yet. Why? I require a payment first. A deposit, if you will, on the loan. They stared at me, confused. What deposit? Chelsea whispered. Why? Post on Facebook right now. Both of you. A full confession. Tag everyone who was at that Thanksgiving, every family member. Why? Every friend who cut me off. Admit you lied. Admit you falsely accused me of being a pedophile. Why? Admit you planned it for money. They exchanged a look of utter, sickened shock. You said anything. I reminded Chelsea, my voice low and even. Why? She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. Holly did the same. What do we write? Chelsea asked. The truth. I stated. Why? That you made up the pedophile accusations to steal my house. That Jared planned it. That Holly helped. That every word was a lie. Why? And you're sorry. I watched them type. Their fingers hovered over the screen. Chelsea was crying silently. Why? The shame of the admission warring with the terror of homelessness. Holly's face was blank, resigned. Chelsea showed me her phone first. Why? The post was there, tagged with probably 40 people. A full, agonizing confession and apology, detailing the prenup motive and the conspiracy. Why? Post it. I instructed. She hesitated, her finger trembling over the button. You said anything. I reminded her, keeping my voice firm. Why? She pressed it. Holly showed me hers next. Similar, maybe even more detailed about her own complicity and financial motive. Post it. She did. Law. Why? I could see the notifications already piling up on their screens as the public destruction they had planned for me was finally inflicted upon themselves. Why? There. Chelsea said, her voice breaking completely. We did it. We humiliated ourselves publicly. Now, why? Will you help us? My answer was immediate, devoid of all emotion. No. They stared at me like I had suddenly spoken a foreign language. Why? What? Chelsea whispered, her face collapsing. I'm not giving you a dime. I repeated. You don't get paid for telling the truth. Why? That is the bare minimum after what you did. You made us post that for nothing. Chelsea's voice went shrill, raw with outrage. Why? I didn't make you do anything. I corrected her. You chose to. You're that desperate. Why? I just wanted to see how far you'd go. You're a jerk, Holly said, her voice laced with venom. I smiled, a cold, hard, unfeeling smile. Why? Maybe. Why? But I'm not the one who just admitted to the entire family that I'm a liar who falsely accused someone of pedophilia for cash. That's cruel. Holly accused. Why? You know what's cruel. Accusing someone of being a pedophile at Thanksgiving dinner. That's cruel. Why? What I'm doing is declining to help people who tried to destroy me. We are family. Holly begged desperately. Why? You stopped being family when you participated in framing me as a pedophile. Chelsea's voice dropped to a near whisper, defeated. Why? Jared said it would work. He said you'd never recover, that even if nothing stuck legally, the accusation alone would destroy you. Why? And I'd walk away with everything. He said the house was worth at least $400,000, and I deserved half. Why? That you'd be so desperate to make it go away. You'd give me whatever I wanted. The confession was complete. Why? He said if I just followed his plan perfectly, I'd come out with enough money to start over with him. Why? 200,000 would set us up for years. She laughed, a bitter, broken sound. Why? And I believed him. Holly's head snapped toward Chelsea, her eyes wide. Start over with him. Why? You told me it was about getting what you deserved from the marriage? Does it matter now? Chelsea snapped back. Why? Instantly turning on her accomplice. Yeah, it does. Why? I lost my kids helping you run off with some guy. You lost your kids because you perjured yourself. Chelsea screamed. Why? Don't pin that on me. You asked me to lie, and you said yes. That's on you. I watched them turn on each other, the raw, why, ugly reality of their conspiracy tearing them apart. Holly's voice went cold. Where's Jared now, Chelsea? Why? Because I don't see him here helping you beg. Chelsea's face collapsed. He's gone. Left 3 weeks after the judgment. Why? Said he couldn't be with someone who messed up that badly. Blocked me everywhere. So, he's gone, and you're broke. Holly laughed. Why? Sharp and bitter. At least I didn't lose everything for some guy. Shut up. No. You dragged me into your mess. Lie. Why? And now I'm working retail at 43. Because you wanted to play house with some jerk who ditched you the second things got hard? They glared at each other. Why? Their original purpose forgotten, then turned back to me. So, it was always about money, I said flatly. Why? It was about not walking away empty, handed after 7 years. Chelsea confessed, her voice thick with tears. But yes, money. Why? And I lost everything trying to steal from you. Will that make you help us now? No. Why? You lost everything the day you decided false pedophile accusations were your path to winning. Why? I'm just not stopping your fall. We're begging you. Chelsea pleaded. Why? You're our last option. Then I guess you're out of options. They stood there for another few seconds. Why? Soaking in the finality of the denial. Then, defeated, they turned and walked to Holly's old, beat-up car parked on the street. In-law, why? They climbed in and drove off without looking back. I closed the door on their shattered lives and returned to my kitchen. Why? The silence feeling more complete, more peaceful than ever before. The humiliation of Chelsea and Holly was complete. Why? But the betrayal was not finished. 3.5 years after the door slammed in my face on Thanksgiving. Why? I heard the voices I never thought I would again. I was outside grilling on the back patio, a drink in my hand, enjoying the hot Texas afternoon. Why? It had been 3.5 years of utter silence from the rest of my immediate family. Not a single phone call, not a text. Why? That silence had become my peace. I walked to the front door and looked through the peephole. My parents were standing together. Why? Both looking deeply unwell. My father looked 10 years older than I remembered, etched with worry. My mother looked thin and haggard. Why? I opened the door, bracing myself. What do you want? My father spoke first, his voice weak. Lincoln, we need to talk about Thanksgiving. Why? About everything we did wrong. You mean about kicking me out, disowning me, then going silent for 3.5 years? I countered. He flinched. Yes, all of that. We were wrong. Why? We're here to apologize and try to make things right. 3.5 years too late, I noted. After I cleared my name myself. Why? Why now? They looked at each other, the silence stretching. My mother finally spoke, unable to hold the facade. Why? Holly's been struggling with the kids. The supervised visitation costs money we don't have. Your father's hours got cut. Why? We thought if you could see how much everyone's suffering. I cut her off, the realization hitting me with ice-cold clarity. Why? Let me get this straight. You didn't reach out to apologize for the betrayal. Why, you reached out because Holly needs money for supervised visitation. Not just that. My dad interjected quickly. Why? We genuinely want to reconcile. We miss you. But yes. Why? Holly's situation made us realize we can't keep living like this. Your favorite child destroyed her own life. Why? And now you need the son you disowned to bail her out. My mother's face crumpled. Holly's not our favorite. Yeah, she is. Why? Always has been. The successful one, the one who gave you grandkids. Meanwhile, I was the disappointment. Why did you believe Chelsea instantly? Why? No questions, no doubt. Just immediate belief and immediate exile. We panicked. My dad said weakly. Why? We heard children in danger and we reacted. You protected Holly's children. You did not protect your son. Why? You made your choice and lived with it for 3.5 years, until you needed money. Please, my dad pleaded. We know we failed you. Why? But we're here now. 3.5 years too late. I repeated, maintaining the emotional distance I had worked so hard to build. Why? We'll do anything, my mom insisted. Therapy together, public apologies, whatever it takes. I looked at them, seeing their genuine brokenness. Why? But recognizing the wrong cause. You're not here because you realized you destroyed your son's life over a lie. Why? You're here because Holly's consequences are expensive, and I'm the only one with money. That's not fair, my dad insisted. Why? You kicked me out at Thanksgiving. Didn't speak to me for 3.5 years. In law. Why? Now you're on my doorstep asking me to forgive you, so I'll help pay for Holly's visitation.
Why?
You tell me what's not fair. We genuinely want you back. My mother insisted, fresh tears rolling down her cheeks. So, why? If Holly wasn't in trouble, you'd still be here. Silence. That's what I thought, I said. You made your choice at Thanksgiving. Why? I'm just maintaining the status quo you established. Don't we deserve a second chance? My mom sobbed.
Why?
Did you think I deserved a first chance before you believed Chelsea? Silence again. Being wrong doesn't obligate me to forgive you. Why, especially when you're only here because Holly needs money? My dad asked desperately. So, that's it? Why? You're just going to cut us out forever. You cut me out first 3.5 years ago. Why? I'm just maintaining the status quo you established. Wait, my dad said, as I reached for the door handle.
Why?
What if we took out a loan and paid you back over time? I'm not giving you anything. This isn't about money. Why? This is about you choosing to believe I was a pedophile with zero evidence. You want to help Holly. Take out a loan. Get a second job. Why? Figure it out like adults. Please don't do this, my mom sobbed. You're our son. We love you. You loved Holly more. Why? That's why after 3.5 years of silence, why? You suddenly remembered I exist. We thought if you saw how much Holly was struggling. My mom began. There it is. I interrupted. Why? You can't even apologize without making it about Holly. Even now. Why? It's still about protecting your favorite child from consequences. I closed the door while my mother was mid-sentence. Why? I heard them standing there for another minute. My mom crying, my dad's low voice trying to console her, then footsteps. Car doors, engine starting. Why? They drove away, leaving behind the only life I had ever known. I went back to the patio, flipped my burgers, and took a long drink. Why? The phone buzzed almost immediately. It was Nathan. Mom and Dad just called me crying. Said you refused to see them. I saw them. Told them no. Why? They're devastated. They should have thought about that before Dad disowned me. They want money for Holly's supervised visitation. Why? That's different. I don't want their money. I don't want their apologies. I don't want anything from them. They're your parents. Not anymore. Why? They made that clear 3.5 years ago. I'm sorry they put you in this position. Not your fault. Why? But I'm done with them and I'm done with Holly. I stood by the grill, the heat comforting against my face. The legal fights were over. Why? The vengeance was complete. The final, toxic tie to my past had been severed, not in anger, but in firm, absolute resolve. Why? The emotional arc was complete. My family disowned me after I was falsely accused of pedophilia by my cheating wife. Why? But now the truth is out, and they won't stop begging me to forgive them. I had paid the price for their betrayal and their cruelty, and now, why, I was finally truly free.